Signs in the sun, moon, and stars. Today, we're going to discuss the 7th trump, Hanukkah 2020, December 14th, the total solar eclipse, the end of the betrothal, the coming of the king. We're going to watch clips of Steve FLETCHER, LEELAND Jones, and I'm going to tie it all in together with the signs in the sun, moon, and stars. Let's dig deeper. Here we are, 7 times the 7 thunders utter their voices by LEELAND Jones. I'll attach the link to the full video. We're going to take a clip of this and discuss it afterwards. Enjoy.
Now, for those of you new to this channel, I'm just going to run through this quickly, but I'm going to point out some things here, and keep in mind the things that we're sharing with you, we've been sharing for years. We've been sharing that the apocalypse is 14 years. We've been sharing this for 5 years, okay? And we can prove this through many avenues as we continue in this video. So essentially, the diagram you're looking at, it includes 7 years. Okay, so you have 7 years here and 7 years here, a total of 14 years. Now, what we're going to look at in this video is the fact that there are 7 seals. Okay, let's just use this as a seal. There are 7 seals. There are 7 trumpets. And there are 7 bowls. Okay? The 7 thunders mark the beginning of one of these events and go into the next one. Okay? So, many of you are surprised by the things taking place because you hadn't known that this is the precise time that we're in, and this is the time that the prophecies would begin to take place. So, for example, when we shared this many years ago, okay, we shared this diagram, and we're in the time of the 7th trumpet. All right, we're in that time now. Now, before you say, "Oh no, that's crazy. No, we're not. You're wrong." Okay, keep in mind, we showed you this diagram. We showed you this information 5 years ago. Think about that. Think about 5 years ago. 5 years ago, what you have within the 7th trumpet is you would have the mark of the beast. Okay? So we said precisely when that is. All right? Now that is in 2020. You can see right here the year, 2020. So we said this 5 years ago. Okay, 5 years ago, it would have seemed impossible to understand in our mind how the mark of the beast would take place by 2021. Why do we know that? Because the first bowl is ulcers. The ulcers come as a result of the mark of the beast. So that means that if this information is correct, the mark of the beast would happen at or around this time of 2021. Okay? Now, I was saying that in 2015. Okay, in 2016, I was proving this whole timetable, and, I was laughed at. I'm sure I'm being laughed at now, but it's right. Okay? It's right. And basically, how we can understand it is we have a time period which is called 7 churches. Okay, that's 3.5 years. All right? And then you have another time period of the seals. Okay, let's put that over here. Over here we got seals. Okay, and that goes from, the seals began in the spring of 2014 with the 4 blood moons. Okay, so you got this period of time is the seals, and during the seals you have 7 seals. Okay, then we come to the next 7 years. In the next 7 years, you have 7 trumpets. Okay? So the 7 trumpets began in 2017. Okay? In the fall of 2017 here, you have 7 trumpets. So we're in the time of the 7th trumpet. That's why I'm doing this message. Then once that happens, then we have 7 bowls. Okay, and then the 7 bowls go here. Each one of these is 3.5 years. So 3.5 years of the 7 churches, 7 ecclesia, 3.5 years of 7 seals, 3.5 years of 7 bowls, 7 trumpets, and 3.5 years of 7 bowls. Okay. Now, the other thing that I want to share with you is that all the information I get multiple witnesses. I'm not just telling you one source of information. I'm giving you a source of information from different vantage points, okay? One of those vantage points is the menorah. Okay, the menorah, as you can see here, is connected to lunar and solar eclipses that have taken place, giving us the time period of these 7 years, the first 7 years and the second 7 years that we showed you in those diagrams. All right. Now, the thunders correspond to the eclipses. Let me say that again. These thunders correspond to the eclipses. We'll explain them as we go throughout the video, but let me show them to you first. Let me show them to you in the menorah. So what we have here is certain years. So here you have 2014, 2015, 16, 17, 18, 19, etc. All right? Now, the prophecy says, when the sun is turned to sackcloth and the moon is turned to blood. So what that means is that the sun turning to sackcloth is a solar eclipse, a full solar eclipse, okay? So if we look here, okay, can you see how that is like a black dot? Okay, what that's representing is a full solar eclipse. Then a full red dot is a full lunar eclipse. That's called a blood moon. That's when the moon turns red. Okay? Now, the prophecy says when the sun turns to sackcloth and the moon turns to blood. What that means is this, within the order and sequence of eclipses, when that happens, it marks a significant point in time. Okay? And everything I showed you before in those diagrams, which are here, okay, they're expressed by these eclipses. So let me give you an example. Everyone was excited about the August 21st, 2017 full solar eclipse, okay? What does it mean? What does it mean, guys? Well, it's a thunder, okay? And then the following eclipse after that, August 21st, the next one is either lunar or solar, doesn't matter, but the next eclipse after that was January 31st, 2018, and it was a blood moon. That's what the prophecy says, when the sun turned to sackcloth and the moon turns to blood. It marks something significant, okay? Well, as you know, that was August 21st, 2017. Well, you had September 22nd, 2017. All right, a month later, that began the 7-year tribulation. That was it, guys. And a thunder marked that. Okay, now our next one is coming up this year, the year 2020. December 14th, there's a full solar eclipse. Okay, well, what is it marking? It's marking the 7th last trumpet. And what do we have? Blood moon. Okay, May 26, 2021. Okay, now, also, you guys remember everyone saying, oh, there's an X over America of the two of the two eclipses. Okay, so the next one, solar eclipse over America, is April 8th. It's a full solar eclipse. What does it mean? There's a voice of thunder at the same time. It's in 2024. What does it mean? It's the 7th bowl. Now, in this video, we're talking about the timing of the 7 thunders. 7 times the 7 thunders utter their voices. Okay? So we go back to our core verse, we have Revelation chapter 10. It said, a mighty angel cried with a loud voice as a lion roars. Okay, so the sound was like a lion roaring. Okay, and when he cried like a lion, 7 thunders uttered their voices. So these are talking thunders. Okay, the thunders are talking, their voices. So what we're doing is, in this video, we're looking at 7 times the 7 thunders uttered their voices. There's 7 times where it says this, the word thunder and voices. Okay? And then it says in Revelation 10, verse 7, in the days of the voice of the 7th angel began to sound. So there's a certain number of days. Okay, the 7th trumpet is not a single day, it is days. Plural. Okay? And so what is that? Well, basically what it is all of the seals, trumpets, and bowls happen in a 6-month window, if you were. All right? So we are now in the time of that 7th trumpet, and that goes from now until Passover 2021. Okay? Now it goes longer than that, because it says it's 1,335 days, which we won't get into in this video. We have other videos on that. But what we're getting at is in the days of the voice of the 7th angel began to sound. So a lot of this information I've been hanging on to for years, waiting for the days of the voice of the 7th angel. Now we're in them. Okay? Now our first thunder, or our first example of thunder that's used in the book of Revelation, is Revelation chapter 4, verse 1. And I heard the voice of a trumpet. Well, that happened at the Feast of Trumpets. Okay? So we can see precisely when that happened, that voice of the trumpet. It's a voice of assembly. That was in the fall at the Feast of Trumpets in the year 2013. In the year 2013, fall Feast of Trumpets, it was this assembly. Okay? And that it was the coming from, and then you have out of the throne went lightnings, thunderings, and voices. Okay? Now, what we're going to do is we're going to read the text in Revelation, okay, throughout the book of Revelation. We're going to compare that to the book of Esther. The book of Esther corresponds to every single, not every single, there's a couple that it doesn't, okay? But it corresponds to many of these thunders, okay, are in the book of Esther. And our third witness is we have solar eclipses and lunar eclipses. Not just any solar and lunar eclipse, a full solar, a full lunar, and a full solar followed by a full lunar eclipse. Amazing. Okay? So our first, I heard a voice of a trumpet, Feast of Trumpets, 2013. All right? I heard a voice of a trumpet, out of the throne proceeded lightnings, thunderings. So that's our first thunder. All right? What happened in the book of Esther? The king held a feast of 180 days. Now, remember what we said is that every trumpet, every seal, every bowl is 180 days, which is 6 months. But in the book of Esther, this happens after 3 years. Okay? And so that's what we're showing you here, is the king sits upon the throne, and then you have 1 year, 2 year, 3 years. Then he holds a feast of 180 days. Well, that just completed 3.5 years. Okay? So that completed 3.5 years. Now, this is all stuff happening before the throne. There may or may not be physical manifestations on the earth. Just keep that in mind. The ones that we do have are the eclipses. So what marked that? All right, well, we have a full solar eclipse on November 3rd, 2013. So that's our sun turned to sackcloth, okay? Then it says the moon turned to blood. Well, that gives us the April 15th full blood moon of the lunar tetrad. That was April 15, 2014, 6 months later, okay? And we find this in Revelation 6:1. The Lamb opened seal number 1. And I heard a voice of thunder. Okay, so we have a voice of thunder. This is our second thunder, second voice of thunder. from the 4 living creatures. Now the first living creature was like a lion. Now remember that the angel, he cried, his voice was as a lion roar. So it's the sound of the Lion of the tribe of Judah that has overcome. Okay? So that is the first seal. In the book of Esther, the king is angry when Vashti refuses the king's command to come to the feast. So Vashti is divorced. That opens the seals. That happened April 15, 2014, ushering in the 7 seals. Okay? Then we get our third thunder. Revelation 8, verse 5. In the 7th seal, okay, the angel took the censer full of cords and cast them to the earth. And there were voices, thunders, lightning, and an earthquake. Okay? So here you see the voices of thundering. This is our third voice of thunder. And then you see, this is when Esther is crowned. Okay, so the seals from the time of seal 1 to seal 7 is 3.5 years. Okay, so you can see it was 3.5 years here, and then we come to Esther being crowned in year 7. The next 3.5 years, we give us a total of 7. And what is our sign? August 21st, 2017, the woman clothed with the sun, with the crown of 12 stars. What is that? It's Esther. Esther is crowned. All right, and then the next eclipse is January 31st, 2018. Full solar eclipse, full lunar eclipse. Okay? And our third voice of thunder. Then our next one, Revelation chapter 11, in verse 15. The 7th angel sounded. So this is the time period we are in now. The 7th angel sounding. And the temple was open. And was seen in the temple the Ark of the Covenant. And there were lightnings, voices, and thunderings, and earthquake, and great hail. Okay, so now we're at our 4th voice of thunder. Now, there's many people talking about an asteroid or different things. Yes, there's possibilities of an increase in hail and signs of this 7th trumpet. This is what we're watching for, guys. An earthquake, great hail at the time of this 7th trumpet. Now, what is our eclipse? It's December 14th, 2020, this year. Full solar eclipse, okay? So we got that.
Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to go over to Steve Fletcher, and we're going to listen to Steve's quick assessment of LEELAND's chart. So I really wanted you to be able to hear everything going on here. So let's see what we have going on here.
Okay, I shared this message by Leland Jones as he's talking about the December 14th eclipse connecting to the 7th trumpet. Very important information that he's sharing. There's a lot of things we differ on as far as interpretation, but he is definitely on board with the mid-tribulation. That it started in 2017 was the beginning of the 7 years. And December 14th eclipse is a sign in the heavens of the mid-tribulation, the 7th trumpet, and coinciding with the beginning time of the bowls of wrath, which would be the reign of the Antichrist and the great tribulation, the wrath of God that is going to begin. But I wanted to share a comment with you that was given to me under this video. And I want you all to pray with me about this, because this would be something that God would have to do to get the word out. But Karenza Grigson shares, "Hi, Brother Steve. The Lord gave me a message this morning." This was a few days ago. He said, "This message of the rapture, 14 December 2020, will go to the world." This message of rapture, 14 December 2020, will go to the world. But in the process, many branches that are currently on the tree will be cut off because they have doctrinal error. Okay? So I shared a comment underneath that. I said, I'm going to commit this word to prayer, which I am doing, asking the Lord what He would have me to do, or whatever He would want to do, that His will would be done. If this is His message, and He is going to somehow make this message go viral, a 14 December 2020 rapture, a message that will go to the world, only God could make that viral if it's His will. So I would ask you all to pray about that with us, and commit that to prayer, and also consider that the second part of this word, that in the process, many branches that are currently on the tree will be cut off because they have doctrinal error. And there's so many differing camps within the body of Christ, and even within the rapture watchers and the watchmen, and it's like most can't agree on much of anything, and very differing camps. Okay, and there's a lot of stuff, a lot of just junk stuff going around within the watchman community and within the rapture watchers. And I definitely see that a lot of branches are going to be cut off with the doctrinal error. I can say I agree with that word. It really resounds in my spirit that this is where we are. This is what is going to happen. This is what has to happen. You know, Jesus said the way to eternal life is a narrow road, and few will find it. So